morning. Good morning. How's everyone doing? The live has new little alerts on it that I've not seen before. It's interesting. They must have updated something in the night. Perhaps. Some community, oh my goodness, is Becca here? Good morning. I know, it's already filtering so early. What the heck? What the heck? A morning. It's a true. It is a morning. Let's see. I need to take these to the recycling this week. That is for sure. I have one full bag and one half bag. So I know. That's whoa. It's 8:43 for me too. Yeah. Same time. We're in the same time zone. Woohoo! 11:44 here, you guys. Must be Eastern time. So, way over there. Somewhere over there. Time to get some coffee in us and wake us up. Thanks. I like it too. It is a cute mug. It is a cute mug. Hey Grace. Hey B. What's shaking bacons? What's everyone drinking this morning? Anything delicious? Coffee smells so good. Perfect timing, I just finished my plant. Yay! What infected my plant? Just, wow, office coffee. Oh no, Jen, I am so sorry. Nothing healthy. Water, nectar of the gods. Water and nectar of the gods, or water that is nectar of the gods? Water from one of those fancy water fountains. Oh, water because I can't taste it. Nessa, are you COVID-y? Is that why? I know, right, Becca? Water after coffee. Fair enough. Fair enough. Water is nectar of the gods. That's what I thought. I just wasn't sure. I guess it technically, you know, it is what brings life. So I guess technically you're right. Coffee always. Same. Alright. Why the coffee maker no make my coffee? There we go. I'm doing my coffee dance. Fancy schmancy coffee, get the foam going and everything. Yeah. I'm down to 1 cup of coffee a day and it makes me sad. Oh. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know, that sounds difficult. Your coffee's all gone. Where'd it go, James? TikTok doesn't want us to be happy. That's what it is. It's what it is. Did you ever ask if the sticker was based on it? That's funny. No. No. I mean, I don't know. I had the idea. Maybe Shira knows who it's based on because she made it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm new here. Do you make slime? I do, but not in the mornings. In the mornings we have book club. But welcome on in anyway. A negligent banana. I know a negligent banana. I've seen them. It's weird that I don't have the typey box anymore. Oh, responsibilities. Morning is chill vibes. Slime is wild vibes. That's true. It's a name, right? It's a great name. It's a great name. We have someone else whose name is Amber Sandwich. I love that one. And we also have, we have another food one. Negligent banana. I feel like I should make coffee. I avoided my kitchen since the slow cooker mess. Yeah. I'll never get over Amber Sandwich either. It's, Amber Sandwich is like one of the funniest things to me. The first time I saw that, I was like, this person's going places. Speaking of, gives me the 2 p.m. pickup I need. Speaking of people who are going places, I already told Secret Boyfriend this story, but Catherine, my sister, told me the funniest story yesterday about an experience that Zoe had at the park. I know, Amber Sandwich is a really cute name. Yeah. Hold on, I'm going to put these away and then I'll tell you guys the story. It's funny. So just to keep everyone up to date, Zoe is now 3.5. So she plays, and she's always been a really like friendly kid, but now she like goes to the park and like just plays with the other kids while Catherine sits there with her son, of course, you know. Oh good, Grace, I love being in your pocket. And I guess yesterday they were at the park and Zoe was playing with 2 little boys who are brothers, and Catherine was sitting with their mom, and they're all chatting and having a great time or whatever, and they played for a long time. But then the little boys had to be, wait, what does that mean, Renee? Oh, the little boys had to go, and so they were cleaning up all their stuff or whatever, and one of the little boys ran over to Zoe and handed her the tiniest pine cone and said, "To remember me." And when my sister told me the story, I said, man, that kid's going places. He should teach classes. He's got game, and he is a toddler. I know. To remember me. Kids got game. Kids got game. To remember me. Hilarious. Oh, I was so confused. Okay, it's Emma, not Emily. That's why I was confused. I was like, who's Emily? That's funny. I was like, I don't know her, but yay. What if in 20 years she's carrying around, I thought about it. Negligent banana, I was like, what if they like run into each other on like some family vacation when they're like adults or whatever, and she's got the pine cone on a keychain or something, and he's like, oh my gosh, I gave you that when we were little. Very cute, right? Very cute. I thought about all different funny scenarios to go with that. I know, he really needs to teach classes, Mary. I know, that kid, it's innate. Secret Boyfriend was like, wow, it's just in there. I was like, yeah, it's right, exactly. You have a pine cone. This is so late, but it should be a pocket Sasha for a wall Sasha. That'd be really funny. You said it was to remember you, and I have this whole time. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh, I know, Jen. I know people who that's happened to, and it's so weird, right? It happened to my friend Patrick and his wife Gina. Yeah, they met in college, and when he went to introduce her to his mom, she was like, "Oh my God, hold on a second." And then the two of them were like, "Okay," and held on. And his mom had a picture, like in an old family album, of the two of them playing together when they were little. Weird. Super weird. That kind of stuff really does happen. Isn't that crazy? I know. It's wild. It's super wild, you guys. It like blows my mind because how does she even remember? How did she even recognize her 20 years later? You know what I mean? Like, how did she look at that 5-year-old's face and then see the adult's face and go, "Oh yeah, same person"? What? You can't. You really can't. What Disney one? Did I miss one, Amanda? What? Tell us everything. We want to know. We're here for it. We live for the rom-com. I even made a slime for it. Maybe she looked like her mom. That's a good question, Jen. Well, I should have asked them, actually. I probably did ask him when he told me. Because when they told me the story, I was like, "Oh, thanks. We're a fun little group, Negligent Banana." There was a picture of a boy in a stroller. In the background was a little girl. Oh my God. Oh my God. No. That's cute. Would you stop being negligent and turn into banana? I would prefer a banana nut muffin, but we can't be getting picky here. You can't be telling people how to not be negligent. They just have to learn it on their own. You're still waiting? Bummer. Emma has always had that Emma face since day one, if that makes it. Yeah, it does. There are people like that. My sister's one of those people. It's your next book. Do it. I don't think I look a lot like baby Sasha, but my sister looks a lot like baby Catherine. My brother does not look like himself as a baby at all. My goddaughter looks nothing like the baby version of herself. I mean, like, if you saw, I definitely look different. If you saw a picture of my goddaughter, Natasha, some of you have seen her because she's been on this page before. Morning, Anya. But if you saw a picture of her when she was a baby, you would think it was a different kid. You wouldn't even think they were related. You've just gotten taller. I have a different look entirely. Yeah, I'm not, but I hear that a lot, Negligent Banana. You're not the first person to say that. Also, my friend, good job, Grace. My friend Ellen Marsh worked with Sarah Silverman, and everyone said that they looked alike, and everyone also says that she and I look alike, so it's kind of like a thing. It's like a thing, because everyone always thinks that Ellen and I are sisters, and everyone thinks that Ellen looks like Sarah, so it's not unusual to hear that. But I'm not, which is weird. Oh, cuter version. That's poor Sarah. Oh no. We'll pretend it never happened. Just be banana bread or a muffin. Me too. I'm a big Vanellope von Schweetz. I'm a straight up Vanellope. You look like the blonde version of Annie. You did? That's really cute, Anya. You should share pictures so we can see that. That's really cute. All right, so let's get started. We've got not much, honestly. Oh, really quick before we start, while I have you all here, I want to tell you the situation for voting on the next book. Here is the fact. She is witty. Did you do? Yeah, no, I did. I have done it. I'm a perfect split down the middle. I'm exactly half Persian and half Italian, and the DNA confirmed that. Both of my parents were my biological father is he came over here in the 70s, so he knew, unless there was something from over there, like he's from Iran, so it is what it is. And my mom's family was very solidly Italian, and they stayed very insular in the Italian community in New York, and she wanted there to be something interesting in her DNA, but she's 100% Italian. She really tried. You're Italian? Yeah, exactly. It's pretty much the same. Yeah. I mean, vibe-wise,
So what happened with picking the new book? She tried to say, let's mix it up, and she just crashed and burned. I did purchase the Millennial book. I'm not forcing it on you all unless you all say you want to read it, though a lot of people did vote for it. But I bought it either way because I'm going to read it regardless, right? Like, I have to read it. It sounds right up my alley. So regardless, I'm going to read it. I think most of you wanted that one also because that got a lot of votes. Book 1 and 2 got the most votes, but I heard from a lot of people that book 2 was meh. So I think we're just going to cut that from the list. And then I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I did buy the OC book because I'm morbidly curious. I grew up in Orange County and I just want to know. That's hilarious, Anya. My mother claimed that she was Italian and Native American. She was solidly neither. That's funny. My mom never claimed anything except that she wanted there to be something interesting. Yeah, so like maybe we read it like the first chapter of the OC book and see if it's interesting. I mean, like after this one. So we have to read, so I guess we'll read the Millennial book, we'll read the Next Land of Stories, and then we can try the OC book, and we can ditch it if we don't like it, just like with the fairy book. We tried to read that fairy book, it wasn't interesting, right? So we kicked it to the curb. There's no rule that says we have to like stick with something once we started. Obviously, Key Ridge was a different situation where we like, I don't know, I was morbidly curious. I wanted to know what happened. So we could try that. And then go on from there. And that gives us a couple to get us through, you know, probably 3 months. She didn't elaborate on location. Yeah, I mean, that could mean so many things. There's so many types of Jews. And you don't have to stick with a book if you don't like it when you're reading a Thank you, Grace. Yeah, if needed, we can just kick them to the curb. Key Ridge was exactly. That's 100% correct, Danny. Rent book was mean. Key Ridge was just silly, you know. So there's like an issue underneath my nail where it's like separating a little, so it was starting to hurt, and I wanted to make sure it stayed together. It's not anything really bad, but it was just like separating, and so I'm just trying to hold it together with some climbing tape. I'm okay, but it was like weird last night, and I was like, I hate you, which is why I was wearing gloves in my most recent video, because I was like, well, I don't want anything. But these aren't acrylic, Grace. These aren't acrylic. These are my nails. That's my actual nail there. Do you see it under the paint? That's Sasha nail. Yeah, it's gel. It's gel polish, yeah. After an ancestry DNA which said European Jewish. The answer is Ukrainian. Oh, that's, I mean, pretty similar to Anya. Anya's Polish, but they're pretty close. Okay, whoa, your nails are awesome. Second, weird. Yeah, I mean, like, I've been working really hard to grow them out, but those are my real nails under there. Gels can do that over time. Really? I didn't know that. Maybe I should get them taken off and, like, get the gel, like, completely taken off, let it breathe for a week and start over. I'm also Polish. I knew that half from my grandfather. See, there you go. All right, so let's read and see where we land up. Yeah, we're almost done. Honestly, we'll probably be done in 3-ish days, because like the whole thing isn't all book. Like there's still a section back here that's like the acknowledgements and junk. Like from here, this is all we have left, just this middle part, because this is all the extra stuff. And that's funny, Liz. This is what we have left to read. So anyway, let's see what happens, and we'll feel it out. Words are hard. Breathe. You know what? Words are hard. That's why I have a cine. I have a cine for words are hard reasons. That's why she's here. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, this is chapter 22. It's called A Castle of Questions. You think we can finish today? Girl, I gotta take a friend to the airport in a little bit. I don't have time for that kind of business. Anyway. A Castle of Questions. After a long and exhausting journey across the fairy tale world, Emmerich and the masked man arrived in the woods of the Eastern Kingdom. They had only stopped to rest once since leaving the dwarf forest, and Emmerich was so tired that he was falling asleep as they walked. We're almost there, the masked man said. Keep up, boy. The closer they got to the portal, the more cross the masked man became. Emmerich was starting to realize that he wasn't a nice person that he had thought at first. The longer Emmerich accompanied the twins' uncle, the louder the voice in the back of his mind urged him not to trust this man. They entered an area of the forest that Emmerich recognized. It was part of the wood that he had entered with Connor and Bree on his first trip to the fairy tale world. He would never forget seeing the Grand Armée soldiers raining down on the trees after they arrived. "This is it," the masked man said. "This is where I saw Marina activate the portal. Now all I need is the magic panpipe." Let me think. Which tree did the witch stash it in? The twins' uncle searched all the trees in the area. He stuck his hand in every hole, crack, and bird's nest in every tree trunk. And finally, he found the instrument in the back of the squirrel's nest. You're right, it's not the only reason, Cindy, but it was a good reason. "Aha!" the masked man said with delight. "I found it. Now I just need to play the right tune and the portal will open." The masked man played a series of melodies on the panpipe. He waited a few moments after each one, but none of the notes did the trick. Even when he was certain that he remembered the correct tune, a portal to the other world did not appear. "Blast that damn witch," the masked man said. "Why isn't it working?" "Is it the right panpipe?" Emmerich asked. "Of course it is," he said. "Marina stole it from the fairies. I watched her open the portal just a few days ago. For whatever reason, it won't cooperate with me." Emmerich thought back to when Connor played the panpipe and opened the portal in Neuschwanstein Castle. He remembered that there was something very specific the instrument needed in order to work. "It needs to be played by a person of magical blood," Emmerich said. "That must be why it isn't working. My friend Bree thinks she and I might have magic in our blood. Would you like me to give it a try?" The magic in the masked man's blood had been taken away a long time ago, so it made sense that the portal wasn't opening for him. However, if his son was able to do the trick, not only would it grant them entrance to the other world, it would also prove the masked man's plan would work. He glanced down at his son, trying to conceal the eagerness in his eyes. Yeah, be my guest," he said, and handed his son the panpipe. Emmerich licked his lips, held the instrument to his mouth, and blew the 8 notes he remembered Connor playing at the castle. Almost instantaneously, a bright light appeared out of thin air among the trees. The light grew bigger and bigger, and it started to spin, sucking all the leaves on the forest floor inside like a wormhole. Emmerich smiled. He had activated the portal all by himself. This confirmed Bree's theory that there was magic in his blood. More than ever, Emmerich couldn't wait to get home so he could tell her. Unbeknownst to him, the masked man had other plans for the boy. He stared at the portal as it grew, mesmerized by its spinning light. He placed his hand on the back of Emmerich's neck and pushed his son toward it. "Good boy," he said softly. "Very good boy." Bree and the sisters Grimm had spent the entire week in Germany searching for clues as to Emmerich's disappearance. Just as they expected, nothing in the Bavarian countryside revealed where the boy was or who had taken him. There was only one place that might give them more insight, and unfortunately, it wasn't an easy location to get to. After days of trading voicemail... Hey, Kristen. After days of trading voicemail, Cornelia finally got through to the groundskeeper of Neuschwanstein Castle. She told the man that she and her family were private investigators from the United States and they needed to access the castle. The groundskeeper wouldn't hear a word of it until Cornelia mentioned that it was regarding Emmerich Himmelsbach. By now, all of Bavaria had heard about the missing boy, and the groundskeeper was inclined to help her. Late one night, once all the tour guides and tourists had left, the janitors had finished their shifts, and the groundskeeper snuck Cornelia, Wanda, Frenda, and Bree inside the castle. "You have 1 hour," the groundskeeper said. "I can't give you any more, then I might lose my job." "We really appreciate this," Cornelia said. Would you mind showing us around the lower levels of the castle?" Wanda asked. The groundskeeper escorted Wanda and Frenda to the stories below, giving Cornelia and Bree a chance to thoroughly inspect the singer's hall without supervision. Bree looked around at all the instruments, the pillars, the chandeliers, and the murals of the enchanted forest. She couldn't believe it. It had been more than a year since she and the boys had been there. "Bye, Grace. See you later." "That's where the portal is," Bree said as she nodded to the mural. Cornelia removed the cross-dimensional emission tracking device from her purse and waved it around the painting. The device beeped with gusto. "If I didn't know that before, I would now," Cornelia said. "The detection rates are off the charts. This portal was activated recently. Very recently." "I knew it. Emmerich isn't in this world," Bree said. "Whoever kidnapped him took him back to the fairy tale world." Bree sat on the floor and sighed. Cornelia kneeled next to her and put the tracking device aside. Well, sadly, I think we've done all we can do, she said. We should be thinking about heading back to the States tomorrow morning. Bree would have stayed in Germany months if she could. She felt like she was abandoning Emmerich by leaving, but Cornelia was right. There was no point in staying if there was nothing that they could do. Have you contacted the Bailey twins and told them about Emmerich yet? Cornelia asked. No, I tried calling Connor as soon as I found out Emmerich was taken, Bree said. At the time, his mom didn't even know where he and his sister were. I bet they're still somewhere in the fairy tale world. Well, then perhaps Connor will find Emmerich, Cornelia said. Then all three of you were brought together by chance. Maybe it'll happen again. Have faith. Bree nodded. Yeah, let's go, she said. I don't want to waste any more of anyone's time. Just as she got to her feet, the tracking device began a beeping frenzy. Something otherworldly was headed their way. A bright light appeared in front of the mural and became brighter and brighter. It grew bigger and bigger, swirling like a vortex. My word, Cornelia gasped. What's happening? It's the portal, Bree said. Someone must have activated it from the fairy tale world. Instead of pulling them in like it had before, the portal blew powerful gusts of air into the room, knocking all the furniture and instruments to the floor. Bree and Cornelia held on to each other so that they weren't knocked off their feet. Leaves from the fairy tale world blew inside the hall, and Bree could make out the silhouettes of two people stepping into the portal. It was so bright she couldn't tell who they were. Finally, the portal closed, and the swirling vortex disappeared. Bree? A familiar German accent said. As soon as her eyes adjusted, Bree saw that Emmerich running towards her. She couldn't believe it. All her prayers had been answered. She embraced her friend and twirled him around in a circle. Emmerich! Bree cried thankfully. We've been looking all over for you. I was kidnapped by witches, Emmerich said. They held me prisoner at a camp in the woods until this man rescued me. Emmerich gestured to the masked man behind him. Even though Bree was overjoyed to see her friend, there was something very peculiar about the man with Emmerich. He seemed familiar, but Bree couldn't think of who he reminded her of. Well, thank you for saving my friend, Bree said. Who are you? Well, he's Alex and Connor's Uncle Lloyd, Emmerich exclaimed. They sent him to find me, to bring me home. You know my niece and nephew too? The masked man asked. Well, it certainly is a small world. From the sarcastic tone in his voice, he was anything but thrilled by the connection. Yeah, we go to the same school, Bree said. I didn't even know they had an uncle. We aren't close, the masked man said. Emmerich was so happy to be back home in Germany that he hugged Cornelia before being introduced. I'm Emmerich, he said. Who are you? My name is Cornelia Grimm, she said. It's so wonderful that you're alive and well. Cornelia's my cousin, Bree said. When I heard that you were missing, she brought me here on her very own plane to help me look for you. She's part of a secret group called the Sisters Grimm. They're descendants of the Brothers Grimm, and they know all about the fairy tale world. Emmerich's eyes grew wide, and he jumped up and down. Bree, that reminds me of some things I have to tell you, he said. I activated the portal from the fairy tale world all by myself. You're right. There's magic in our blood. That must mean you and Cornelia and I are related. Actually, Emmerich, Bree said, we found out some information while we were visiting with your mom. It turns out you're not related to the Brothers Grimm like I thought. You're from the... Her train of thought was interrupted when Cornelia suddenly screamed. Bree and Emmerich looked up and saw that the masked man was pointing a revolver at them. What are you doing, Lloyd? Emmerich asked the masked man. He ignored him. He stepped towards Cornelia and aimed the gun at her. The old woman raised her hand in the air. Did the girl say you have a plane? He asked. Well, yes, Cornelia said. I do. The masked man jerked his head and the gun toward Bree next. And you go to school with my niece and nephew, he said. Do you know where they live and how to get there? Bree was scared speechless. She just went, just answer the question, the masked man yelled. Yes, Bree said. Emmerich was petrified. He regretted not trusting his instincts in the woods. Clearly, the man wasn't who he was saying he was. You're not in Alex and Connor's uncle, are you? He said. Yes. I most certainly am, the masked man said. Actually, I'm a lot more than you realize, but we have plenty of time for that later. The four of us are going on a little trip to the twins' house right now. But Alex and Connor aren't there, Bree peeped. They're in the fairy tale world. The masked man chuckled. Stupid girl. I never said I was looking for the twins. In the commissary, the Blissworm was standing on a table entertaining all the pirates and sailors from Starboardia. The Space Worm theatrically reenacted the twins' encounter with the polycrabs on Lollipopicus. It used sound effects, large gestures, and impersonations to tell an exciting tale. Sounds familiar. Dun, 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 dun. I'm a bliss worm. I'm a bliss worm. Can I be the bliss worm for Halloween, you guys? They're supposedly really cute. And they just like want to be held or picked up. Anyway. Although it never articulated any words, the Dalai Lama crew seemed to understand everything the worm was saying. They oohed and awed at the descriptive story. Some even covered their eyes like they were watching a scary movie. You're telling us that Alex and Connor found you in a hole the polycrabs dug to capture you as prey? Winking Wendy asked. And then you were all captured and taken to the polycrab colony deep underground? Siren Sue asked. And after Connor rescued you from the polycrab queen's web, he detonated a massive bomb that vaporized the whole species? Stinky Feet Phoebe said. I picture a bliss worm like a glowworm. Yes, but cuter and chubbier. Oh no, Brittany. The bliss worm nodded happily. They were a very attentive audience. All the pirates and sailors were astonished by the story. The Dalai Lama crew had never heard such an adventurous tale. And they were pirates. The commissary was still segregated. The characters from the fairy tale world glared at the characters from Connor's stories from their tables across the room. But they were also astonished, not by the events in the story, but that the Dalai Lama crew understood what the worm was saying. How do they know what he's talking about? Jack whispered to Goldilocks. They're all from Connor's imagination, Goldilocks said. They must share some kind of language. Red casually slid into the seat across the table from Jack and Goldilocks. Her eyebrows were raised and she pursed her lips tightly to keep from smiling. She obviously had a secret that she was dying to share. Red leaned over the table so only Jack and Goldilocks could hear her. Have you noticed how familiar all these strangers are? Red whispered. Jack and Goldilocks stared at her blankly. Was she just now realizing that? Can't say that I have, Jack said. Have you, Goldie? Familiar, Goldilocks said. Whatever do you mean? Red was so eager to talk about it, she didn't realize they were being sarcastic. That's really funny, Anya. Her eyes enlarged like her theory was scandalous. All the characters on that side of this odd ballroom are from Connor's short stories, right? Red said. But I'm not convinced they're entirely from his imagination. I think many of the people in this room are based on people he knows. People like us. Red swiped the table like she was laying out a winning hand of cards. Jack and Goldilocks both sighed. Sometimes Red was so naive, it was impressive. Yeah, I think you're onto something, Red, Jack said. Nothing gets by you, Goldilocks said. Red was so pleased with herself, she shimmied her shoulders. Captain Auburn Sally walked by their table and Red waved her down. Excuse me, lady with the big hat, Red called. Come sit with us. Red patted the seat next to her, and the captain looked around the room to make sure Red wasn't speaking to someone else, and then sat down next to the Queen with no clue of her intentions. It's rather silly of us to share such close quarters and not get to know one another, Red said. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Queen Red Riding Hood, and these are my subjects, Jack and Goldilocks. Jack and Goldilocks looked at each other. Subjects? It's nice to meet you, Auburn Sally said. I'm Captain Auburn Sally of the Dalai Lama. Tell me everything, Red said. Where are you from? What do you do for a living? What are your hobbies, etc., etc.? Well, like I said, I'm the captain of a ship, Auburn Sally said. We're the only all-female vessel in the Caribbean, and one of the most feared in the sea. We spend our days sailing across the ocean looking for buried treasure, and occasionally we meet other women like ourselves on the run from their past, and we invite them to join our crew. Red was so charmed by the captain that she gently placed her hand over Auburn Sally's. The Queen smiled like they were long-lost sisters who had been reunited. You must be me, Red said. Auburn Sally was confused. She understood what Red was insinuating, but the Queen didn't seem to notice that Goldilocks could have been the captain's identical twin. Are you sure? The captain asked. No offense, but I would have guessed that someone else was inspired by you. The captain gestured to the cyborg queen in the corner of the commissary. She was sitting on a throne, in throne mode, as Commander Neuters tightened the wires and gears around the top of her head. Don't be so humble, Red said. I'm certain you're me. The similarities are uncanny. Both of our names start with colors, and we're both very powerful and accomplished women, and we're both very flamboyant dressers. My style is more privileged and pampered, but the dirty and daring look works for you. Auburn Sally looked to Jack and Goldilocks for help. Just play along or it'll never stop, Goldilocks whispered to the captain. Yeah, I think you're right, Red. Auburn Sally's definitely based on you. You're practically the same person, Jack said and nodded over dramatically. Red happily turned to the crew of the Dalai Lama. She now saw pirates from a completely different perspective. Pardon me for a moment, she said. I'm going to go introduce myself to our crew. Oh, what fun this has turned into. The Queen skipped off to the table of pirates and sailors to introduce herself, and Auburn and Sally stared at Red like the Queen had just escaped from an insane asylum. She's not sailing with a full set of sails, is she? The captain asked. Across the commissary, the twins' mother was happy to see the characters finally warming up to one another. Charlotte took the intermingling as a sign that she was succeeding as a glorified babysitter. Things had gotten significantly easier now that they were in the hospital. There was plenty of room for all the characters, and no one was breaking Charlotte's possessions, and everyone was getting along, for the most part. There was only one thing missing to make it an enjoyable experience: Alex and Connor. Spending several hours a day with her son's characters made Charlotte miss Connor more than ever. He had never shared his stories with his mom, so it was nice for her to see them come to life piece by piece. Charlotte heard a familiar jingle and turned towards the door of the commissary. It swung open and her heart sank into the pit of her stomach. They had company. Dr. Sharon Jackson, a clinical psychologist at St. Andrew's Children's Hospital, stepped into the commissary with an elderly couple. Sharon was an African-American woman with curly black hair who wore several bracelets around each of her wrists that jangled as she walked. And this is the new storybook commissary, Dr. Jackson told the couple as she escorted them inside. The psychologist was floored to see that it was filled with so many strange people. The elderly couple cleaned the lenses of their glasses to make sure that their eyes weren't deceiving them. All the characters in the room froze and they were dead silent. They'd been caught. Hi, Sharon, Charlotte said. What brings you to the new commissary? Charlotte, meet Mr. and Mrs. Carmichael, Dr. Jackson said. They're two of the donors who paid for the commission of the new wing. I was just giving them a tour of the facility. Who are all these people? Charlotte's options were limited. Telling her coworker the truth was out of the question, and there were very few lies that could explain why so many costumed adults were gathered there. Coming up with something that wouldn't get her and Bob into trouble with the hospital was nearly impossible. They're performers, Charlotte said. Bob and I wanted to surprise the patients with a little staff entertainment. The characters were impressed by how convincing Charlotte's lie was, especially one that had been thought of on the spot. Dr. Jackson and the Carmichaels were touched by Charlotte and Bob's generosity. Oh, how wonderful, Mrs. Carmichael said. That reminds me of the circus. When's the performance? We'd love to see it. Tomorrow night, Charlotte fibbed again, in the multi-purpose room, 8 o'clock. It must be, that'll be a late night for us, but we'll be there, Mr. Carmichael said. That's so kind of you, Charlotte, Dr. Jackson said. What show are they performing? Is it something I know? Charlotte eyed the characters for assistance, but none of them were helpful. They watched the twins' mother like she was a show herself. They're still figuring that out, she said. That's why everyone is dressed so differently. They're going to rehearse all the shows and repertoire for me so that I can select what's going to be best for the children. Well, we'll be looking forward to it, Dr. Jackson said. May I spread the word, or are you still keeping it under wraps? Charlotte laughed. Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag now, she said. Feel free to let everyone know. Sounds terrific, Dr. Jackson said. The kids are going to love it. We'll let you get back to rehearsals. Dr. Jackson escorted the Carmichaels out of the commissary, and Charlotte faced the characters in a panic. Her face turned bright red, and she was thinking only in swear words. Well, looks like we're putting on a show, she said. Anyone have any idea of what we should do? William Shaky Fruit has a collection of hysterical plays, but I don't think we can pull off one of them by tomorrow, Red said. Anyone else have a suggestion? Charlotte asked. Trollbella was the only character to step forward. She went to the center of the room and looked up at the fluorescent lighting, her arms spread out like she was having a religious experience. My time has come, she said in a trance. Finally, life has presented me with an opportunity to show my purpose. At last, I have an outlet to combine all my talents for something that matters. You mean besides being queen? Goldilocks asked. Governing is just a side gig, Trollbella said. My true calling has always been the performing arts. I have the perfect performance for our predicament. It's the greatest story ever told. Little Red Riding Hood? Red asked. The Prince of Thieves, Robin Hood asked. Peter Pan? Peter asked. Trollbella raised a finger to silence them. No, she said. The life and times of Queen Trollbella. The Troll Queen flicked her hands through the air like miming confetti falling, and the other characters slumped, thinking each of their stories were a better choice.
We need to start at once, Trobella said. I'll write, direct, narrate, and perform myself, and nobody knows Trobella like Trobella. I'll need the pirates to build the sets, the cyborgs to adjust the overhanging fireless torches.
Those are called lights, the cyborg queen said.
And now for casting,
Trobella said.
The merry men will be my goblins, the lost boys will be my trolls, handsome Jack will be my butter boy, beautiful Red will play the title character, and fat Goldilocks will be the creature that keeps us apart.
I'm pregnant, Goldilocks said. Trobella winked at her.
Of course you are.
Can I have a bigger role? Peter Pan said.
Oh, I have the perfect role for you, Trobella said. No one can portray the highs and lows of life like a boy who can fly. You will symbolize my heart and the personification of joy and conflict and agony that I experience in my very short life.
Wicked, Peter Pan said. Trobella took the charge of the room like a mad conductor. Her eyes widened with power.
This will be the best surprise performance in the history of St. Andrew's Children's Hospital, Trobella declared. The audience is going to be so invigorated, so inspired, so dumbfounded. It's a good thing medical professionals will be standing by.
The characters throughout the commissary were a little frightened by the Troll Queen. None of them had given her the authority to direct the performance, but none of them were going to take it away from her either.
Don't just stand there looking like porcelain porcupines.
Let's get to work, Trobella ordered. Right away, the characters split into groups that she had assigned. Trobella walked around the commissary and met with each cluster privately to discuss her vision in the greater detail. As they deliberated over performances, the binder of short stories flipped open and the twins stepped out of the beam of light with Professor Wallet, Blaze, Whitney, Morph, and Bolt. The sibling characters looked around the commissary in wonder. The other characters were so busy planning the performance, they didn't even look up at the superheroes.
Welcome to the other world,
Alex told the siblings.
Wow, Bolt said. A whole other dimension? This is so cool.
There's no science to prove this is possible, but I've always said there's too much world for just one planet, Professor Wallet said. Connor whistled to get the room's attention. Hey, everybody, he said. These are our friends, the siblings. They're superheroes, and they agreed to help us fight the literary army. I hate that, Brittany. I hate when that happens.
Can one of you sew?
Trobella asked. I can transform into a sewing machine, Morph said.
That'll do, Trobella said. You'll be in charge of costumes.
The Troll Queen grabbed Morph's hands and pulled him into her group of set designers. Costumes for what? Alex asked. We were caught by one of my co-workers, Charlotte told the twins. I didn't know what to say, so I told her that the characters were performers. The good news is she believed it. The bad news is we have to put together a show for tomorrow night.
Oh, butter-in-law,
Trobella's saying to Charlotte.
Is there a place that we can get materials, or are we supposed to just use tablecloths and wood from the walls?
Yikes, Alex said. I better get them some supplies before Trobella tears this place apart. I could probably travel into the next story alone if you want to stay here, Connor said. Are you sure you won't need a hand? Alex asked. Positive, Connor said. Alex didn't want to desert her brother, but she knew that he'd be fine on his own. Charlotte was glad Alex was sitting the next one out, because it presented a wonderful opportunity, one that she had been hoping for. Oh yeah, that's really funny. Connor, I have today and tomorrow off, Charlotte said. Maybe I could join you in the next one. I'd love to travel into one of your stories and see everything that you've created. Having his mom tag along seemed like the worst idea in the world. It was like she wanted to walk him to his classroom when dropping him off at school. He forced himself to smile so he didn't hurt her feelings. Oh, great, he said through gritted teeth. Charlotte could tell her son wasn't thrilled by the idea. Only if I won't be a burden, she said sadly. I'd hate to interfere. I'm just happy to stay here and continue watching the characters. He couldn't tell if she was intentionally making him feel guilty or not, but the effect was strong. Obviously, it was something that Charlotte really wanted to do, and Connor didn't have the heart to tell her, no, it'll totally be fine. He said, I'd love to have you there. Charlotte clapped cheerfully. Oh, great! What's the next story about? She asked. Well, it's called The Adventures of Blimp Boy, Connor explained. It's about a young archaeologist in the 1930s who travels across the world on a giant blimp. He searches through ruins to find precious artifacts before they're stolen by tomb raiders, and he donates them to museums. How exciting, Charlotte said. Is there anything special we need to do while we're there? Well, we have to find a magic talisman in ancient pyramid, Connor said. Whoever possesses the talisman is granted control over a legion of mummified soldiers. Once we bring the mummies here, we'll be finished recruiting the armies that we need to fight the literary army.
I can't wait,
His mom said.
let me just find my purse. Alex, if you see Bob, will you tell him that I briefly stepped into another dimension with your brother?
Charlotte searched the commissary for her bag, and Alex gazed at Connor with the deepest sympathies. Good luck, she said. Connor sighed and shook his head. What could be better than an afternoon with mummies and Mom? Dun, dun, dun! What could be better? I guess tomorrow we'll find out all about Blimp Boy. All right. Well, that is that. I love not being able to take something. Oh, no, that sounds terrible. I didn't think reading was fun when I was in school either. Yeah, I mean, I did. I was a reedy kid, but everyone's different. All right, I will see you all later, probably for some. I know every chapter has some sort of cliffhanger these days. I wonder if this book is going to end on another cliffhanger like the last one did. Like, book 4 was a total cliffhanger, and there's still one more book. So, we don't have that much more in this. I don't know. Airport? Yeah, in a little bit, Becca. In a little bit. All right, I will see you all later. I don't know what time, but I will slime a day. All right, bye, guys.